Red Dead Redemption is a beloved game for not only myself and many others. That was made in 2010, and by Rockstar Games. And it has become one of the most beloved games in the series, alongside Red Dead 2 and, some others. I'm not only going to be talking about this one, maybe Red Dead 2 if I'm feeling up to it, maybe. But I'm just going to be talking about why I like the game, going over the story, so spoilers, just the gameplay, environment, open world, and stranger missions. Just sort of like the whole shebang. So, without further ado, let's get into the story. At the beginning of the game, you start off as John Marston, walking onto a train, seen with 2 government agents with no context prior. This is where the credits play, giving context to the world Rockstar has made, such as the 2 ladies, or fossils I should say, talking about the modernization of the Wild West and how it's for the better, and especially bringing about, or talking about the savageness of the natives and stuff, which is an entirely different storyline that I might talk about later in the video. And there's also young Jenny with father, talking about the modernization as a whole, and that's the whole part of them. But I think, in my opinion, it's just talking about like how the Wild West is changing, and as John being an outlaw, which you don't know this yet, but it's just him sort of taking in, what he's going to have to do later in the mission, or later in the story. And speaking of that, he's dropped off at Armadillo to meet an informant, Jake, who is willing to take him to Fort Mercer, where a gang member, Bill Williamson, is hiding out. As Jake takes John to Fort Mercer, you see John's iconic characteristics shine on the way there. When you arrive to Fort Mercer, John stupidly decides to challenge Bill, and you see how that goes. Now that John's been shot, it seems hopeless until a random lady picks up John and takes him away. After a while, John wakes up all bandaged up and confused how he isn't dead, when you are properly introduced to Best Girl, Bonnie McFarlane, who is a charismatic rancher who paid for John to get help or fixed, and as the player she asks us to just do like basic chores such as like helping a ranch, like by watching like for varmints or whatever, and shows off what the game has to offer: racing, horse breaking, herding cows. Oh my god, I gotta flip my script. Night watches and much more. Blah blah blah. I hate to say it, but that's basically it. That's all she does as a character. She is a very interesting character, in retrospective, but that's all she does. That's basically the first half of the game. It's just a tutorial, which, like most games, but yeah, that's basically it. The new Austin part of the game, or portion I should say, is basically a tutorial, and a wild goose chase. With the Marshal, honestly, his missions aren't that bad, but Nigel West Dickens, Seth, and Irish, don't even get me started on those guys. They're all good characters, but still, very tedious in the end. Anyways, this all leads up to the assault on Fort Mercer, a great mission, but doesn't really work out that well just because Bill Williamson conveniently leaves like a day early, or a day before, to go to Mexico, conveniently, which leads John to think that he's meeting up with Javier Escuela, an ex-gang member that he was a part of. Which, by the way, little spoilers, but John and Bill and Javier, and soon to be Dutch, but you won't know about him until later, are all in the same gang. I feel like that's pretty obvious. Or now it is, but but yeah. Now, knowing this, John makes his way over to Mexico with a very underwhelming mission with Irish. And he's sent over to Chuparosa, which apparently is where Bill's last whereabouts were. And as he goes there, he meets the legendary Landon Ricketts, who is a old gunslinger that apparently John knew when he was in the orphanage. So, pretty cool. And he actually teaches him how to use his Deadeye better, which if you play the game, Deadeye is like where whenever you aim in, press R3 or the bump, stick, makes it just able to lock onto people, and it just makes you able to tag people instead of just all whenever you look at them it just goes XXX, and it's tag with R1 or RB or whatever it does. But yeah, pretty cool ability, and Landon makes him a better killer in the game, and also just more fun to play with that ability. And yeah, as you progress through the Mexico section and help both sides of the revolution, you finally encounter Javier Escuela. And like I've said before, morality plays a big factor in this game, also known as honor. Personally, I had the highest honor because it seemed most accurate to John in my mind. Anyways, you're given a choice to either kill Javier or capture him. Personally, I captured him. I know it's still not bad, or it's still bad, but it's not as bad as killing him. This decision doesn't have an effect on the game, at least to my knowledge. This does wrap up the Mexico story pretty quick, just because of Bill's stupidity by hiding out by the president. Like where we all know where he was. I don't even get me started on that part, but I don't know. This section racks up pretty quick, pretty cool, and also you are introduced to the actual agents, Agent Ross, and I honestly forgot what his name was. What is it? Oh, yeah, Fordham, whatever it is. Not Agent Milton. Let's just say that. I'm trying not to go in too much depth on this section. I just want you guys to get like a quick summary if you want to play the game or if you want to know like a little bit about it. But anyways, I'm gonna go to bed because I've been writing the script for 2 hours, and yeah, I'll be back. Throughout the Mexico portion of the game, we are given details on how the government has taken John's family hostage, and to get them free, he has to take down his past brother in arms. Now, being said, John thinks he's done, as, Bill and Javier are both, under, I don't know, justified. I don't even know what the hell I'm saying. But, obviously, since he thinks he's free, he gets a little angry with Edgar Ross, and he points out the obvious one for us Red Dead 2 players, that he's missing the big honcho, Dutch Vanderlyn, who has been sort of a menace recently up in the hills with some lost and confused natives, where he's like taking them under the wing, which also makes way more sense with the whole Charles and reservation arc and talk in Red Dead 2, which makes, oh my gosh, don't even get me started on that. But yeah, that's where he is, and I'll talk about what he's doing. Before I get to that, I do just want to talk about the two most interesting characters, McDougal, a coked-out scientist, and professor from Yale, who is trying to bring civility to savages, quote-unquote, or Native Americans, and Nassus, who is the informant, who is giving information about Dutch's whereabouts, and is worried about like his friends who've fallen for, his, like, is mind control that he has sort of in Red Dead 2, which you can see obviously throughout the entire game. The biggest talking point I have is hearing both sides of their story on how McDougal is just sort of like blinded by how he's so like, he thinks he's so high and mighty and talks so condescending onto people, and it just shows on how like blind and how like stupid we were back in the day. And with Gnostic's just blunt attitude, it makes it seem like we were really just assholes for no reason, and that puts a new perspective on Native Americans in that time period, especially. Which, to be honest, when I was playing this game, that was the biggest taking point from the Blackwater section, alongside of like Dutch's death, which I will talk about right now.
Hello again, John.
Hello, Dutch.
We gotta stop meeting like this.
Sure.
I got a plan, John.
You always got a plan, Dutch.
This is a good one.
I don't doubt it.
We can't always fight nature, John. We can't fight change. Can't fight gravity. We can't fight nothing. My whole life, all I ever did was fight.
Then give up, Dutch.
But I can't give up, neither. I can't fight my own nature. That's a paradox, John. You see?
Then I have to shoot you.
When I'm gone, they'll just find another monster. They have to. Because they have to justify their wages.
That's their business.
Our time has passed, John.
Now that Dutch and John's brother-in-arms are dead, John finally gets to see his family, and that's the whole point of the Beecher's Hope mission, of him trying to slowly loop back in to having a normal life, such as, you know, being a father, a husband, and now having a ranch to run, Beecher's Hope, which was mentioned before with Bonnie. Throughout this section, you do some errands, such as herding cattle, which I'm not too that fond of. You teach Jack how to hunt, whatever, I guess. But yeah, he's pretty stupid when it comes to that, because he tried to hunt a bear and then almost died. But yeah, Abigail's nothing to write home about. An uncle, I don't even know what to say about uncle, but still. As soon as everything looks, you know, is looking up John, one of the most devastating, like, cinematics plays, and it's not even a cinematic, but I'm probably gonna play it. But when I literally, like, realized what the clip was coming up, or like what part of the game was coming up, I literally just got so depressed. Not really, but I was just like sad that I had to watch it. And I've already gotten the scene spoiled for me, so you know, I don't want to spoil it for anyone else. So put timestamp in here or whatever, and then skip to that point if you don't want to. But enjoy it, I guess. John's death is a powerful scene that directs the story, where you actually follow Jack. And, yeah, Jack. And I will be actually going over this, or his story, I should say, and, you know, his revenge arc, and the DLC, Undead Nightmare, which I'm just starting to play as the time I'm recording this. John's death, like I've said before, is very powerful, and, to be honest, it still is, like, as effective as Arthur's death. I think it doesn't have the same weight to it, but it is, you know, just because he's such an iconic character, and seeing him die is pretty hard to watch. But yeah, that wraps up the story part of the game. So now I'm going to be talking about the different types of, like, shit I like in this game, and yeah. The weapons in this game truly are, like, meaty. I don't really know how to describe this, but to every revolver, lasso throw, shotgun, dynamite throw, it just all feels really good. Even though it feels sort of snappy-ish, it feels rewarding for, like, having to lead those shots. And Deadeye is also a specific feature that makes the gunplay in this game so nice. You know, with those takedowns, like I just showed in the background, it you know, varies. The combat, especially how there's no hip fire too, which was a big, like, turn off when I first played this game, but in a way Deadeye is like that, and that's just always like an accurate, you know, hip fire, which makes it feel rewarding. The game is set in the 1900s, early 1900s I should say, Wild West, that is during, you know, the modernization and, you know, the purge of outlaws. And, you know, that's also shown in Red Dead 2, and this is just gives more context, you know, to what's actually happening. Obviously, since it is called New Austin, it's mainly, like, Texas, and, like, I want to say, like, Florida, but not really, because that's, like, more like St. Denis, which, you know, is obviously like Red Dead 2 because that that game's 10 times fancier. But the setting and environment still is as detailed in my opinion. Not to the same extent, but for a game that came out 14 years ago, it's pretty good and pretty impressive. To be honest, stranger missions in this game were actually sort of a surprise to me. When I first played this game again for like 2 hours, I encountered a few of the missions that I am playing right now that like just sort of surprised me. It just sort of seems like far-fetched for most like games now to have like side content that's all mocapped and has their own story. And to be honest, they can be a little repetitive, but they have pretty cool stories behind them. And with Eleanor or whatever the hell her name was, the lady that was trying to get married to Peter, who was like saying that it was her perfect day, with getting flowers for Annabelle, strange man, funny man. It's just a lot of different characters that are pretty cool, and spice up who you're talking about. One word: Jorge. That's my favorite part of this entire game, and that's all due to the Mexico portion of the game, where you'll randomly find donkeys / mules. And to be honest, I didn't even know that you could get a mule or a donkey as like your main steed, until I just just figured it out. So if you see me riding a donkey in that one or in most of the clips, it's because of that. So I try to keep them for all of my game. Somehow gotten ported over the border, but yeah, it works. So there you go. Thank you very much for watching, and yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys in the Undead Nightmare video or Jack and Marston story. So thank you very much for watching. Have a great rest of your guys' day. See ya.